advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional.
And welcome everyone to this week's editions of Bulls versus Bears. Our normal leader, Mark Gardner, is out on his yacht today. It's a lovely day on the harbour.
Been on yachts, eh?
Yeah,
We're holding down the fort.
That's it. Someone has to do the job, basically. And so welcome to Kai Chen. Used to be a regular on the Bulls versus Bears, but someone's got to do the heavy lifting in this place, and who better than Kai Chen to take his place? So I just have a look. What episode are we up to?
I think it's 86, is it?
Is it? Let's have a look. 86. US goes nuclear for data centers. Wow, have we done 86 episodes already? Wow. Okay, well, shows you what we've been up to. So let's start off with media. Kai, you're on the call this week. Anything good? Anything different?
Yeah. Well, the same couple of stocks keep coming up. How many times do you have to say Domino's is not a great buy? I mean, we can always make the case it's cheap, but I think, it's just, it's not that model that they're going for. The other big one was ANZ got the record fine. That was stock day on Monday. Yes.
So any good like buys or anything normal, or is it just another run-of-the-mill call episode?
Oh, there were some buys. What was it? I can't. It's too long ago on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. It was like 4 days ago.
there was a double buy, actually. Let me see where...
Was it GQG? FMG? Iluka? Which one?
I think it was FMG.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I think
so. FMG is the double buy out of them.
Yes.
So in terms of media, I had the close of business on Tuesday, and that was before the Fed cut rates as well. So and the markets were pretty much at record highs, and we shall see on the fear and greed index is that like basically this market just wants to head on higher. So it's a case of it's upward momentum. There's going to have to be a proper black swan, meaning that something that no one's really expecting to come out. But at the moment, this market just wants to head on higher. So the main sort of front page is US goes nuclear for data centers. So what happened was I believe Chris Roth, the energy secretary for energy in the US. So he's an actual successful oil and gas company holder. So he actually, I forget the name of the company, but he's run successful like drilling campaigns, searching for oil and actually producing oil as well. And he just said, look, if we want to power AI, we need a lot more uranium. And so uranium stocks have been the hit of the week. And we'll actually talk about Paladin a little bit later. But anything you want to add to that in terms of data centers, Kai?
Yeah, I mean, I've been personally wrestling a lot with AI over the last couple of months, right? So it's getting smarter and smarter, and I think in terms of resource demand, there's just going to be more and more. Like, I don't think we appreciate the scale. Like in say 5 years' time, a lot of automation in terms of company processes is going to need this. What I didn't realize was like every piece of that pipeline needs some form of AI, right? So like it's going to be spinning up like little agents all over the place. So I the more and more I use it, I actually think like it won't be as spectacular as people think it will be. Like when we're talking about like artificial general intelligence, where it's just like AI is going to take over the world and it's going to do everything. But I actually think it's like all these little pieces are going to be everywhere across our lives, running things. But yeah, I mean, it translates to more data centers, more demand for energy. So yeah, they've got a bit of foresight. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, look, I think that's I forget where I heard it, but that's the actual only limiting factor on AI. It's actual energy. Like it's actually that's the laws of physics that will limit it. If they actually had unlimited energy, they just feel like we can get to AGI so much quicker. Like that's how fast that the actual models are developing. So interesting times and lots of data center plays doing well. So in terms of equities, so this is just a chart. Like overall, everything's quite positive. I've noticed like all the Korean stock market, Nikkei, Singapore's not quite at highs, India's not quite at highs, but there's a lot all around the world that's quite positive. It's not just the Nasdaq at the moment. Like everything is going up, and I often keep saying that if the governments keep printing money and they're signaling that funding is getting cheaper with the lowered rates, asset prices have to keep rising. So just in general, stay long. Until it doesn't work, pretty much. So so that's all the charts there for the week. In terms of ASX news, so Telix came out. What was it with some more FDA news today? But either way, the stocks bounced.
They're resubmitting their FDA, well, because they got knocked back for one of their FDA approvals, or sorry, their applications for FDA, which is actually quite normal, right? And this is what we were talking about in our investment committee, where it's like this is actually a pretty common practice where you have to refile it again. So today the announcement was basically like they're going to do it for the next quarter. They're going to refile it, which is exactly what we said all along. And it's funny how it plays out very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it's a sentiment driven stock. So obviously, when sentiment's quite high, so quite negative, it doesn't really matter what news comes out. The stock price gets hit, and what we've seen is that there's a good piece of news today, and it looks like the stocks bounced off the lows there. So encouraging signs for Telix there. Santos. So I actually had Santos on the call with Nathan maybe a couple of weeks back. I forget the exact date, but I had Santos on the call, and I do remember what I said is that there's actual guys that all they do is M&A arbitrage. So they kind of just price in the likelihood that a takeover goes through. And what I saw was that Santos was kind of just hovering around, about $1 below the actual takeover price. And the fact that it wasn't trading at that full premium kind of just tells you that there's a good chance here that the takeover won't go through. And that's what came out this week. So basically, they said the takeover is not going through, and it fell over $1 on the day. I think it was like something 16% on the day. I haven't looked where it is this morning, but like Nathan was saying similar things. But there's some super sharp guys out there that if they see some sort of doubt in terms of a takeover, I was like, okay, well, you got to take your profits and run on this with Santos, because the thing is, if you zoom out with Santos, he hasn't really done much for a very, very long time. So I was just like, look, it's we've had the rumors of a takeover. Probably take some money off the table at that. So hopefully someone paid attention there to me, Nathan, and isn't left holding the bag. And
wasn't there like a takeover from Woodside the last year or something?
I forget the actual details, but I think that was one of them. But the most recent one was a Saudi company. But I think they wanted all of the assets, and that's kind of what sort of triggered a bit of doubt in terms of the government approving it. So either way, it hasn't gone through. Santos is back near the bottom end of the range. I mean, like it'll probably be a bargain eventually, but it's one of those where it just goes sideways for a very long time, so it's very hard to trade. And last one, so I talked about Paladin. We talked about nuclear and the US government initiating stockpiling uranium. Paladin actually did a cap raise at 725, 300 million, and that's to accelerate development of their Canadian asset from memory. And when it reopened, it opened at I think 780, and we bought some and for clients, and it's trading above 8 at the moment. So yeah, we just think there's a lot more upside in the uranium space, and we've seen there's some bad names. I mean, like, wouldn't call Boss Energy a bad name, but obviously they didn't please the market with some of their more recent announcements, and
very upsetting with Boss. I mean, like, how did they miss the the mark so far in terms of production costs, right? Because, like, basically the report before, they're saying, like, the cost of production is like 30 something dollars, $34.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, all of a sudden now it's 70, almost $70, and you're going like, that's crazy, like, it's like, how does the ore grade, or is the operation going not very well? So it's interesting. I think, Paladin also had issues last year in terms of production, but I think that was pretty quick to get past that, and they got absolutely punished on that last year, right? So I think all the Australian uranium miners are a bit undervalued at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look overseas, CCJ's at record highs. So yeah, there's a lot of love. A lot of value to be had in Australia, and that's why we chose Paladin this week to buy. So there you go. That's the Aussie share highlights for the week. And US stock highlights. So if you look in the newsletter, Richie's actually written a few things about BlackRock on, they're backing the truck up on AI. So obviously they're one of the largest pools of capital in the world, and for them to go even deeper into AI shows you, as we've talked about, how deep this thematic can go. Micron. So yeah, you mentioned hard drive space. So Micron's a beneficiary of that. Yeah.
So this is really interesting. I mean, obviously the sexy space in AI at the moment in terms of hardware is GPUs, right? That and of course with Nvidia's share price, and also some of the Huawei in China and all that. But I think, like, something that gets really missed is, like, hard disks. Like, think about storage, where it's like how much output these language models do. Oh my god! Like, just us alone generating content, right? Like, you think about it, it's like, compared to when we didn't have AI, it's probably like 5 to 10x more content, more just random output, that we have more information, and it's like all of that needs storage. So basically, at the moment, what the issue is so Western Digital is basically saying that they're increasing prices. Micron's done incredibly well. They produce also solid state hard drives, and what's the other one? Seagate, right?
Seagate, yep.
Yeah.
So if you have a look at the chart of those two, it's like basically since I think May, like they've both doubled, and these are sizable companies.
Yeah.
So it just shows that's we should have probably gone into that one a bit earlier. So that's one that we missed.
Is I was reading on the article. It says there's going to be a backlog for about a year, right? So it's not it's not a supply issue that is quickly resolved. So that's why all these companies are raising the prices, right? So, like, there's going to be a bit of a backlog for next year, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so when Oracle came out with their result, they just said the same thing. It's like, it's all about capacity. Like, they've got the orders, and there's plenty of demand now. It's actually just capacity. Can they actually deliver the products that the market wants? And so interesting there. So yeah, AI just I know there's been a big move in a lot of the stocks, but yeah, it looks like there's still more money to be made in that sector. And so good old Tesla. So I put that in there because Elon, he cracks me up. He put the tweet out that Tesla's hit 420, and he just said as it was prophesized. So I just love his blunt humor, and hopefully people actually understand what the 420 means. So that's the US stocks there. There you go. As the heat map for the week. Interesting. So Nvidia, it doesn't look like this whole move in AI and and that move, it feels like money's coming out of Nvidia and heading into some of the other names. I've noticed Broadcom actually came off a little bit, but just in general, like if you have a look at some of the second tier names, they all look quite healthy, while Nvidia kind of just looks like it's petering out at the moment. So,
I mean, there was a big reason why, right? So remember the Chinese, well, not ban, but the encouragement of domestic for Chinese
that's right.
firms
Yeah, that's right. So
to,
they
yeah,
they said
to
they said don't buy Nvidia chips anymore. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
and I mean, the Chinese space is a good one to watch out for as well, right?
Hmm.
Because it's not it's discounted a little bit because I think the assumption is that the technology is still far behind. It's not, right. Like if you look at Huawei in terms of their hardware, I mean, like obviously the Nvidia is the leading edge,
Hmm.
but Huawei's actually being a little bit sneaky in what they're doing is they're getting like worse off chips, but just bunching more together and creating a cluster, and that delivers more power than a NVIDIA GPU cluster. Right?
Well, there you go. So
Yeah,
that's it. And I'm guessing because it's China, that solution is much cheaper as well.
correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. So that's the key. It's like just as long as it gets the job done and it's cheaper, there'll be a market for that.
Oh,
Like when you go to Bunnings and like people are like, oh, don't buy the Ozito stuff. Buy the good quality drills, and you're like, well, one's $50, one's 150. It's like, just as long as it does the job. As I said, there's a market for it, and I mean, like in our chat, I was talking that maybe this is the deep seek moment for chips. Hasn't played out that way, but I just remembered the that deep seek moment. When was that? Like maybe like early this year, like maybe
yeah,
January, February. Like
yeah,
basically, deep seek came out and said, "Oh, we trained our model on only I think it was like $9 million. And
mm,
AI, OpenAI has spent like 9 billion, or,
right, more.
or even more training. So it's just like, oh, when that came about, I'm like, oh wow, like so China's figured out a way through software, which isn't usually what they're known for. Like they're more like manufacturing hardware. But I thought maybe that's a deep seek moment there. So, but either way, let's play it. And just on that, Barber, like that was one of our recs couple months back, but that's been on a tear, and it's all based on that sort of speculation that there's chips ahoy there, basically that they can compete on. And just a little bit of a segue. I do remember, like one of the podcasters that I listened to, he did mention that ASML they had their like record sales quarter because China just basically bought out some of their last stock. Sales kind of just dropped off a little bit, and what he predicted was that it looked like China being China, they kind of reverse engineer things, and it just
Hmm.
feels like they're definitely a lot. They're not as far behind as a lot of people think in terms of their chip development and sort of
Yeah, I
technology
mean,
stack there.
to be a bit more specific in that, ultraviolet, because to explain it, like basically, there's two types of machines, right? So like the older technology, the DUV machines, right? So I think they can only produce chips that are above about 7 nanometers.
Mm-hmm.
Everything underneath, you need extreme ultraviolet ray machines. So those are the machines that are actually banned from being sold to China. So what they're doing is actually they're purchasing up all the old D machines, but they're running it twice. So they're going like, oh, okay, as opposed to just running it once, making very small
Okay.
ones, let's run it twice. But it obviously creates more errors, and then you have to throw out a lot of the wafers and stuff like that. But they are developing indigenous extreme ultraviolet rays. It's from what I was reading, actually, it was like, and again, this is Huawei. Um, they were doing it in different process, right? So in the Netherlands with ASML, they do it in using one method. They're trialing another method, and apparently that's a cheaper way to do it because you got to remember these machines are extremely intricate and like it's like the most complex machine that's ever made, pretty much, right? So it's that, and that's why it's so expensive. But I think what the Chinese are trying to do is actually another type. But if they do succeed, it'll probably be cheaper once again and more efficient. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, interesting times there. Look, so let's just see. But yeah, I mean, like we talked about, like imagine China does catch up, or yeah, it doesn't even have to catch up. Like if they just say take some market share away from Nvidia, like what's what market cap can Nvidia lose? Like let's just say they flatline sales from here. What happens to the Nvidia share price? Because there's a lot of future value baked into that share price there, and obviously it's the most valuable company in the world for a reason. But yeah, if China comes out with something that's, as I said, doesn't have to be the best, but does the job, it'll be an interesting thing because as we keep saying, like this market is super expensive, and I keep saying that what's going to stop it getting more expensive, but yeah, this could be just one of those things that watch this space. So we're not saying it's going to happen, but it could be one of those risks that we need to consider. Maybe in a few months or maybe in a year's time. So interesting developments. So commodities and FX. So I'll start from the left and head up to the right. Gold made a new high, but just pulled back a little bit. Silver made a new high earlier in the week, but that's pulled back a little bit. Copper has actually been quite disappointing, but it actually still looks positive on the chart, or in my eyes. I can see that platinum and palladium were both solid. Crude still stuck around that 64 sort of range, but hasn't really gone anywhere because it seems like the economy is slowing down. It depends on which data you look at, but then we've also got Trump going around and asking for 100 bip rate cuts. So the market's trying to price in. Are we going to run hotter? Are we going to get cheaper money? And that's the thing. Looks like coal's had a good day, and uranium as well. Obviously, need to power that. And I did notice Bitcoin as well, looking quite solid here. It did get down to about, I think 109 was the actual level. It's back at 117 now. So it looks like it's consolidated around that, the 110 to 115 level, and looks like it's heading back to the highs from here. So, and the US dollar fairly flat, but just in general, looks like a little bit more US dollar weakness, and that chart kind of looks precarious. But it is FX. The money has to go somewhere. So is it going to go into the Aussie? Is it going to go to the euro? Because it's pretty much what's the least worst currency out there at the moment. So every country out there has its own sort of fiscal problems and monetary problems. So interesting to see where everything heads from here. Trade of the week. You want to have a chat about what Micron does, Kai?
Yeah, so I mean, Micron specializes in NAND technology. So basically, they produce RAM, but as well as storage in general. So like SSD, hard drives, and all that stuff. Right. So they function. They're different in how they work, but obviously, as a producer of these NAND chips, one's volatile, one's non-volatile. So yeah, I mean they specialize in that, and as we talked about before, I think the question is like how are these hard disk and RAM producers going to keep up with the demand? Because the more data centers they have, you need more computers in there. Like
That's it.
simple as that, right? Like, and then the amount of data, and it's really interesting because like if you think about hard drives, the NAS hard drives are still those big disk ones,
Yeah.
and it's like the technology hasn't changed for what 20, 30 years or so.
So you're saying that the hard drives that are actually in like the data centers, they're still like a larger version of the older hard drives.
Oh,
They're not SSD chips. You're saying?
no. Yeah, all the NAS drives are all like if you look at SSDs, right? Like I remember I was doing this, right? So if you had a server rack, and you wanted to get a 2 terabyte SSD hard drive, let's say HP, you buy a HP disk, it's like $800 per hard drive, right? So very expensive. But it only gives you 2 terabytes, whereas like if you're going to 20 terabytes for actual like server storage, um, you can't get SSD hard drives to do that. Like you pretty much have to get those big NAS drives. So still the
And how much would that cost in comparison? Like,
probably like $800-900 for 20. So like they're 10 times more storage for about the same price.
Okay. And I'm guessing even though SSDs would be faster, like
Yes.
the speeds are comparable, is it?
No, SSDs are the NAND storage type is always faster.
Mm.
However, it's just like to scale up to 20 terabytes, it's cost wise.
It's 10 times the cost though. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And so, Micron, I remember I actually did the video for this trade. I remember saying buy it here at 132. We think it's good. It looks promising for a breakout, and it pretty much hit target. So we recommended at 132. I put the target at 150. It hit target within a week. So it just shows that kind of parabolic move. It's trading around 169, 170 now. And if you do subscribe to the Global Alpha emails, we'll tell you when to sell. And just a bit of a warning, they do have earnings coming up on the 23rd, so sometime next week. So you'd have to subscribe to know if you want to hold through earnings or take profit beforehand. But we'll leave it. I'll leave that for the paying subscribers.
Yeah, and like I think in terms of this, in general, we talked about the backlogs is about a year. And like these supply issues always take a bit longer to resolve than not. And sometimes the prices of these hardware go to ridiculous places. Like I remember a good example of this was like something really stupid, like in COVID. Raspberry Pis. So they're like single board computers, right? Basically, before COVID, it was selling for about under $100 for a board. Over COVID, because they couldn't get circuitry, like I remember on eBay, people were selling them for like $400. It got crazy, and it took like way longer than what everyone expected to resolve. It was like almost a year or more before prices actually start dropping down. So,
it's kind of one of those things that because our world's containerized now, we actually don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We actually don't appreciate what is involved with those chip manufacturers, and then sending off to China to actually assemble, and then putting on the ship. But there's a big massive the supply chains and the logistics behind. I mean, all we do is kind of just press a button on our Amazon Prime and it just pops up on next door. That's how convenient modern living is, and I love it. But we kind of don't appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. But either way, Micron Technology, and please subscribe if you want to know if we're taking profit here. Okay, thanks. And CNN, Fear and Greed. So I remember having a chat to guards last week's podcast, and it was around the 52 level in neutral territory. So now that the Fed's actually come out and they've gone 25 and signaled there could be 2 more cuts before the end of the year, and the market's priced it in, you can just see that the market's heading into greed mode now. And I think that could be a chance for a bit of a shakeout in the markets, because at the moment it just seems like everything's heading higher. There's a lot of complacency on the street at the moment, and I'm not saying that it has to pull back, but I've just been in this situation before where when everyone's bullish, it doesn't take much for that market to turn and just surprise a lot of people. So interesting that we're in 62 and into greed. Like if it was in extreme greed, I would be like, okay, that is actually a really good signal that the market's gone into how can you say, like crazy mode. It's taking its crazy pills, and we need to take some money off the table. But either way, what do you think, Kai? In terms of market sentiment and
Yeah,
where we are.
that seems to be the sentiment on the streets, right? Like everyone's scratching their heads because they're going, well, there's so much risk on the table. We've gone through it many times. It's like nothing can push this market over, but everyone knows it's kind of overvalued for given all the risks. Outside of the AI space, I still think the AI space, the growth will be there. But the general market is just getting pulled along with this thematic where it's like, it stretches it into overvaluation, but it's just not going to correct. And obviously with the Fed cuts and cuts to come, it's just poured a bit more fuel on the fire. But yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher. Everyone knows there's risk on the table. It's just a question of like, how does it express itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that I have noticed is that even though the Nasdaq's at record highs, S&P made a new high last night. Our index here is definitely lagging. Obviously, we don't have much in the tech space, and the banks just can't seem to head on higher from here. So, yeah, like if you want to be long the US markets, not here. But the thing is, you're gonna have to dance near the exit because, or just stick to the AI names as well. So interesting. So what are your predictions for next week? I think I was I forget. I think I was bullish last week. I'm gonna go with bullish for another week. It just seems like we're not quite there in terms of ridiculous amounts of greed. So I think that the market can, and I'm talking the S&P here, we've hit a new high. I think it can, eke out another 1% of gain for next week. What about yourself, Kai?
Oh, I don't think there's anything to stop this market at the moment. It just keeps going higher.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't really see anything on the board to stop it.
Yeah, so nothing stops this train. So we've got myself bullish, Kai bullish. What are you? A 1-star bull or 5-star bull? How bullish?
I'm a reluctant bull. I'm like I'm a confused bull.
Yeah, so basically Kai's saying it's gonna go higher, but he doesn't know why. So don't ask silly questions. It's just stay long, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a momentum guy, so I'll just stick with that as well. Okay, so with that, that's our segment for the week. Thanks for tuning in. Any parting words there, Kai, or you're all good?
Just keep going along. I think I keep watching the US space. I think the US stocks, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. I mean, if it continues to go higher, I think the thematic remains very strong. But yeah, it does. But of course, given the volatility, sometimes you do have to take a bit off the table, average back in, be a bit nimble.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's this week's episode for Bulls and Bears, and have a great weekend, or a great week ahead. Thanks a lot.
Stay safe.